Good morning, Sandy Abel.
Good morning, Robert. How are you today?
I'm great. So great to be meeting with you. Sandy interviewed me for a podcast a couple of years ago. Was it that long ago?
Yeah, and it was very fun.
And yeah, I talked about some stuff I don't talk about all the time. We're going to be talking about something different here. But Sandy um, has been a therapist, an author. She's retired now, but she also has her own podcast, which she does with her daughter on all kinds of interesting topics. And I thought she'd be a great person for Ordinary Visionaries. So, welcome. And the first question I have for everybody is how do you see yourself as an ordinary visionary?
Oh, wow. That's huge, Robert. First of all, I want to say I'm not completely retired. I'm no
Oh,
longer doing therapy, but I am now a business and life coach. And that is way fun because it's all about defining and achieving your goals. So that is a good thing.
great.
Um, how do I see myself as an ordinary visionary? I never thought of myself as a visionary. That you brought that title, that term up, and I went, oh. And then you defined it, and I said, well, that could be me, but I had not ever said I'm going to set out to be a visionary. You know,
Yeah. You know, I think it's an interesting term because we, instead of extraordinary visionary, like as we were talking before we started, Elon Musk or God knows who, really famous people have accomplished ridiculous things in the world. Good for those people, but for 99% of other people, we're not there. But there's a certain percentage of people like you, like me, who have ideas and a vision. We're often self-employed or we're business owners, and we put our ideas into action and try to make a difference. And that fits you to a T, right?
I think so. I never really thought about it until you brought it up. But uh, yes, throughout my life, I've had ideas about things that I wanted to make happen and set about doing that. So that
Yeah.
must make me a visionary in your terms.
Well, are you familiar with what's his name, Psycho-Cybernetics and Maxwell Maltz?
Oh, yeah,
I read that book, I don't know,
long time ago.
more than 50 years ago. It was a really impactful book. But he talks about envisioning the past, mental imagery, visioning stuff. We've read The Secret, which is all about saying what you want. And, all of those things are kind of related to it. But, I think all humans are visionaries to some degree, right?
Oh, I
But
believe so. That's how
to,
you make things happen in your life. Even
that's
if
right.
it's just getting
You
a job and earning money to buy food or something, you know.
whatever it is. But in many cases, for whatever reasons, we don't take action on it and we don't fulfill our dreams and we don't do what we wish we could have done. And so I want to talk to people that have accomplished a lot of what they wanted to accomplish. And, I think it's also important to put the focus on what we've accomplished and what's next for us as opposed to what we haven't done. I mean, what we haven't done is infinite.
Sure.
You
As
know,
long as you've done what you want to do
yeah, yeah,
and you take it
or-
one step at a time, if you've got 47 things you want to do and you
yeah,
try to do them all, you'll do nothing.
exactly. So let's hear about you and your journey. Tell us a little about the kind of things you've done in your life and in your career as a therapist and what you're doing now and writing your books. And we'll just talk all about that, the kind of things
Okay.
that you put into the world.
Well, first I'm going to talk a little about personal because it all feeds into the other one. Um, when I was little, I was great until I was two. And then my younger sister was born.
Ah,
And like all infants, she got all the attention because they have to. And I could walk and talk and had to. So, but I somehow interpreted that to mean that I wasn't important. So, uh,
wow,
I
it starts young, doesn't it?
it starts really young. It does, you know. And then, I mean, she was cute and cuddly and liked to sleep. My gosh, what baby likes to sleep? So she was the star, and I was used to being the star. So it was like, oh, wait, what? So I started figuring out, you know, how to get attention, and the things I did was not were not good. Um, and as I grew, I went to school and was one of those kids that was bullied and made fun of. And, they would choose everybody for a team and I would be the last one and somebody'd have to choose me and they'd go, oh, we have her, that kind of thing. So my self-image was being pretty damaged and my self-esteem was pretty nothing. And as I grew older, um, I dealt with that and I started looking internally and figuring out, okay, who am I? And is what people think of me really who I am, or is it just their perception because I may be a little over the top trying to get attention or whatever?
Right.
And so finally, I went to high school and uh, got a couple friends and calmed down a little and stopped looking for attention and was building some self-esteem, finding out there are things I'm good at and it's okay and I can like myself.
Yeah.
And then I went to college and majored in psychology because I wanted to understand all this stuff.
Right.
And then that helped a lot and I did understand. And then I became a therapist and did that for 20 years, had my own practice. And
Remind us where you live.
pardon?
Where do you live?
Oh, now I live in Medford, Oregon, Southern Oregon, just
Okay.
20 miles over the California border.
Okay. Where were you when you started your therapy practice?
I was here. Yeah,
Okay.
because I did what all young women of that day, this was in the 60s, early 70s, were supposed to do. I got married. And and then I had a couple kids and did that for several years. And then we moved to Oregon and got divorced. And that was where I started, got my master's degree and started my therapy practice and all that.
Right.
So we've been here forever. But uh, so then I wanted to help other people not go through what I went through. If they didn't have self esteem, I wanted to support and empower them to see how awesome they are.
Yeah.
And that's been my driving force ever since.
So, interesting. I listened to um, webinar yesterday about a guy talking about your marketing message. And he was teaching a lot of the stuff I've taught in the past, but really, really doing it well. And he was talking about, it reminds me of what you're saying. You had a particular wound or an issue around self-esteem,
Right.
and you worked on that and healed that.
Mhm.
And then, is that what you emphasized in your business? Or your therapy practice? How to help people that have lower self-esteem than they want to build their self-esteem, or
Uh, well, I would meet whatever need my client had. Um,
yeah,
so if it's amazing though how often a lot of other problems stem from not valuing and honoring yourself in relationships or in business or wherever. It
yeah,
all kind of boils down to uh, self-esteem. But
right.
I
So
didn't. People didn't walk in and I'd say we're going to fix your self-esteem. We
yeah.
didn't do
So
that.
people might not realize the issue is I don't have self-esteem. I've got
Right.
problems in my relationship or problems at my job or problems with
Right.
this.
Yes.
But it all kind of circles back to how do I value myself?
Right. What is my self-image, and where does it come from?
Yeah.
And a lot. I mean, we all have, you included, Robert, have a little inner child in there who, like mine, when she was 3 and feeling unimportant,
Yeah.
and they're still inside of us, and they're still telling us uh, all those negative things. You're
All those,
laughing. Does that ring a bell?
well, yeah, it's so interesting. I was the second child.
Uh-huh.
My sister was the first, and then we had after that three more daughters.
Oh, wow.
So four girls and one boy.
You were
And
right in the middle.
now I never took years of therapy to figure that out, but I'm sure I'm sure that did. Whatever our family dynamics are all different, all complicated, all interesting. Who knows what it all means, but
Right. And it's important to just be aware of that little boy with four sisters and how
yeah,
did he feel and where did he fit? And what did he think about that? And what was expected of him? Were you supposed to be the brother who took care of everybody? Were you just the little guy that didn't fit in the group? Were you, you know, all those things?
well, I was more like the kid who always got his way, and whatever.
Okay, so you were the favored one.
Let's not do therapy.
I'm sorry, Robert.
No.
Anyway, so it's important for everybody to understand that they still have that. And
Yeah,
just because they're 20 or 30 or 40 or 80,
yeah,
that little person is still there and sometimes running the show, unless you
no
can
doubt.
access it and work with it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I definitely know I have issues,
I don't
to
think
say
you
the
have
least.
issues.
I'm on my third marriage, so marriage has been the biggest challenge of my life, to say the least. And but I don't want to talk too much about my issues. So you worked as a therapist for 20 years.
Right. Yes.
Wow.
And then I realized that I was having much more fun with my clients who actually wanted to make changes in their life. A lot of clients just came and their insurance was paying and they just wanted to have a nice person to talk to. And that was me. And that was fine. But then they would finish, we'd get to a certain point and I'd say, great, now let's figure out why you're doing this and how you can move ahead. And they'd go, oh no, I'm good now. And they'd leave. But once in a while, I would have a client who we would work on stuff and deal with why they came to therapy. And then I'd say, okay, let's see. Now, how do you want to move ahead? And they would say, oh, great. Let's make a plan. Let's do, it's like, yay. And that was fun for me.
Yeah.
And that was coaching. Then it turned into coaching. So I became a business and life coach because I wanted to have some fun too. And my clients now are successful and they uh, know when they come to coaching, they have to participate. They don't just talk and I listen and, that's it. They have to do things to make their goals a reality.
Yeah.
So it's very fun. It's fun for me and it's fun for my clients. The only problem is I work myself out of a job because then, we're successful and then they go off and have a great life. And then I
Right.
want to help more people.
Well, there's always that yeah, that was true for me. I would work with clients for a certain period of time, and then they got their marketing in order, and
Right. Yeah. And then they move on.
which is good. That's being successful.
Yeah.
I was there in the room, so to speak, where coaching was invented.
I know.
Um, Thomas Leonard was
Right.
really the father of modern coaching
Right.
in many ways, and I rented an office space for him in San Francisco and got to meet the people that started CTI and all of those kinds of things. So I was kind of the whole coach, and I've worked with many, many coaches over the years, and it's interesting. I've seen so many people in your position. I was a therapist. I was very similar story, and I got tired of that, and I wanted to help people get along with their life, become
Right.
ordinary visionaries.
Exactly.
know,
Exactly.
have a life that they wanted instead of dwelling on the past.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to come to terms with that and then work with your inner child and then let it go and move ahead. And then
yeah,
you can be a visionary.
yeah. So, do you find coaching? It sounds like it more overall fulfilling than therapy was because of
Oh,
that.
for me, absolutely.
Yeah,
Because it's about success. And
yeah,
that is really fun
Yeah.
for everybody.
So, over the years, I was never a trained coach. I'm kind of self. What I do is I try something, make a mistake at it 27 times until I've tried finally figure it out.
That's the
But
learning process.
yes, so no matter what you do, you have to go through a learning
Sure.
process.
Right.
But it's fun working with people that are moving ahead, et cetera, et cetera. But over the years, I've read so much about so many things. I've been into personal growth and transformation, as we talked about in my interview with you, since
Right.
the beginning of time.
Yeah.
I read these life-changing books when I was a teenager.
Yes.
It ended. I won't get into my story, but
I
I'm
like your
interested.
story, Robert.
I'm interested in well, there's a lot of things people have no idea about my background. I haven't gotten into that because I've been a marketing coach. But maybe, with this, I'll share some of those things. But
Good.
I'm interested in what kind of um, things other than pure coaching, if any, that you studied, incorporated into your coaching, and what things really had an impact.
I
Uh,
use a lot of my psychology, a lot of the therapy
sure.
techniques and
Yeah.
things.
Why would you throw that out, right?
Oh yeah, because it all goes together. If
Yeah.
people aren't achieving their goals, there's a reason, and it's probably a psychological reason.
Yeah.
So, I combine them.
Yeah.
I don't make a big deal about that because people don't want therapy, they come for coaching. But
Right.
um yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well, I think that's a healthy attitude because a lot of things people say, well, coaching is this, therapy is that. We can't ever talk about the past. But, why not use the skills you have and create your own kind of coaching business?
exactly. Exactly.
The number one issue that I had with clients and that I worked on for, I don't know, for decades, I was in business for 37 years, is getting unstuck from not doing what you want to do. It's like people tell me what to do with marketing. Here's the plan, here's the strategy, and then people over and over and over avoided it because marketing is scary.
Then you have to look at why they're avoiding it and what is scary. And
Yes,
are they afraid of rejection? Are they afraid of looking like a fool? And
yes,
who cares? I mean, but
yeah,
that's where the psychology comes in.
yeah. So I got into that and started to be kind of a marketing shrink. People would call me a marketing shrink.
Yeah.
So untrained as I was in that, I studied a lot of those things. I studied Byron Katie. Are you familiar with her?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, discovering what's the belief that's holding you back. And when you realize, oh, that belief, that pattern isn't really based on any real truth,
Right.
all of a sudden you have breakthroughs.
Right. It's like, where did it come from? And,
Yeah,
oh, well, it came from something long ago. My parents always said that, but it just applied to their situation, not me, whatever.
yeah.
So, got to sort it out.
So, in your path as a coach, as a therapist and a coach, what were well, you're still coaching. What are the kind of things that you struggle with to really help your clients? What's the sort of leading edge for you, trying to be able to do this? Get what I'm saying?
Um, Not completely. I,
Well, I found that when I worked with people, there was always another level of possibility,
Mhm.
another level of stuckness, another level of willingness,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also had to realize that my ambition was not necessarily their ambition. You know,
Exactly.
I get really excited about the possibility for their business. I could see great
Yeah.
possibility. And it was often hard for them to see that. And it's
Right.
like, well, is there anything that I can do there ethically and and effectively to help people see bigger possibilities, uh, tap into their creativity, do risky things,
Sure. Exactly. And that's what you and I do is help people find those special skills that they don't know they have
Yeah.
and tap into them and move ahead.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid of failure. And it's like you just said, you do it 47 times and then you get it. Well,
Yeah.
the important aspect of all that is persistence. If you do it twice and it doesn't work and you go, oh, well, I'll never get it. Like,
Yes.
think about when you learn to walk, you know,
Exactly.
you got up, you fell down, you got up, you fell down, someday you could take 3 steps and fell down. And, it's same as marketing a business.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and you're the guide, just like when a child's learning to walk, the parent is there and you start by holding the hand and then you let go and then you
Yeah.
support. And I mean, that's exactly what you do or what I do.
So, yeah, persistence is such an important thing. I've often said I'm not that smart, but I'm very persistent. In the dictionary, beside persistence is my picture.
Yep.
I just never gave up. I mean, I just made a million mistakes and just kept going. But, I seem to have that in my DNA
Yeah.
or in my, whatever. That sort of, I don't know where that came from, but, that was a great trait to have.
Oh, yeah.
And what do you do with people that don't have that trait? Some people are dreamers, but as soon as they try something and doesn't work, it falls apart and
Right. Well, then
they
we
get
have to examine how serious they are about wanting whatever it is they're going after. And
yeah,
why do they want it? And what's going to happen if they don't have it?
yeah,
And are they willing to get out of their comfort zone? Comfort zone is a trap. For a while, a comfort zone's really nice. It's where you're safe and you know how everything works and you can make it happen. And, you know,
yeah,
most of us, and comfort zone is nice. I like my comfort zone. But
sure,
every now and then, like when I wrote my books or when we started the podcast, um, that was totally new to me. I'd never done that. And that was way out of my comfort zone.
yeah,
But it's all about what you tell yourself. And what I do with my clients is just say, okay, how serious are you? Do you want this? And how much do you want this? And what are you willing to do to get it?
yeah,
And with coaching, the client does the work. You know that.
sure,
You can help strategize, you can help support, you can give resources, you can do all that stuff. But the client has to get out and do it. At the end of every coaching session, we create an action plan of the
yeah,
things that they're going to do in the next week or two before we talk again.
yeah,
And when we get together the next time, the first thing I say is, so how did your action plan go?
yeah. Sounds like me. That's what I do with people.
Yeah, I
And
mean, because we're
sometimes
great coaches, Robert.
we make progress, and sometimes not so much.
Sure, and that's okay too.
Yeah,
Now, if you do 6 weeks of not so much, then you say, okay, how serious are you? Do you want to do this?
yeah.
But
Yeah, so for the people listening to this, I mean, this is, whoever is listening to um, this is really important. One of the things that I see a lot out there these days in promotion is coaching that will make you a multimillionaire. Only take these 3 simple steps, blah, 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 blah. It's just nothing is ever that easy.
it's just,
Nothing. It's just hype. Although, I'm also very big on systems, however.
sure.
I'm I'm organized and big on systems and step by step and making marketing action plans and taking one little step at a time and but we sort of get over our skis often. It's sort of like we want to be ahead of where we are.
Yeah.
Have you
And then
seen
we're
that?
hard on ourselves if we're not there. And then we
Yeah,
start,
yeah,
and that's one step at a time.
yeah. It only took my whole career to finally get to that place. I mean, do you ever talk to your clients about failing fast?
No, but I like that. We probably covered it, just not with that term.
Yeah, well, I've often said to my clients, well, try a lot of stuff and see what doesn't work.
Exactly.
And that's learning because then you don't have to do that stuff anymore.
You can scratch
But
that right off the list.
yes, but it's can be frustrating that people get into their patterns of wanting to do things a certain way that don't work, and then or more frequently just not trying stuff,
Yes,
just not trying this, just not trying that. So you sort of have to scale back. Well, what's the little thing that you could do this week?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly. A lot of people go into it as like, well, it's never going to work, so why should I bother? Well,
right.
you're right. You get to be right
Yeah,
because it won't work if you don't do it.
yeah,
But if you give it a try and say, I may take 10 times to get this, but I'm going to get it like you do, Robert.
right.
Um, you'll get it.
Yeah, or you'll discover that it doesn't work and you should do something else.
It doesn't fit for you. And then that's a great lesson. That's good to know too.
I think that's a whole interesting thing that, we grew up in a family that had a certain philosophy, and we went to school and had certain teachers and certain beliefs. And one of those beliefs is I must be successful. And
Boy,
what
that's
the hell
huge.
does that even mean?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is what does successful mean?
What does that even mean? It's interesting. Anyway, so when did you write your books?
Oh, wow. Well, I have sort of two and a half books. I have,
Okay.
I'm going to show, I have
Okay.
Feeling Good About You
Great.
is a workbook on self-esteem, on finding your self-esteem and what might be getting in the way. And
Great.
wow, I must have written that about 15 years ago, I think,
Yep.
uh, because a lot of people were, I can only see so many clients. My time is limited, and I
Sure.
wanted to reach more people.
Yeah.
So I wrote Feeling Good About You. It's the journey of discovery that leads to self-esteem.
Yep.
And it was a bestseller for a while. That's cool.
Great.
And then I started working with business clients and realized that there were a challenge for a lot of businesses is that they have people like the bank teller, who's a really good bank teller and everybody loves him. And they want to promote him, but has zero leadership skills. They're just really good bank teller. So I wrote Moving Up to Management, Leadership and Management Skills for New Supervisors. And
Perfect.
that is also a workbook that you can work yourself, or uh, I do groups based on that. So companies have hired me and we'll have 5 or 6 new leadership people and we'll just do a 10-week course. So,
Great.
and there again, it's helping people, it's empowering people and teaching them the skills to move ahead and do what they want to do. So
Fantastic. So, did those books help your business, help your coaching business?
I think so. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, they did not make millions of dollars. I don't think books make millions of dollars these days, but
Only
I
a
think
few. Only a few.
they accomplished my goal, which was to support and empower people.
Yeah.
So,
Great.
and they still are. I
Yeah.
mean, they're both on Amazon if anybody cares. So,
Yes. Check them out on Amazon. So, in the materials for this, we'll put your links to your books and all that kind of stuff.
oh, cool. Okay, great.
So, how did you make the transition from therapy to coaching? What kind of process did that take? Was there a clean break? Did it sort of morph together? Did you say no more therapy? I'm doing this now. I mean, it's a
There was
transition,
an
right?
incident with one of my clients when I was doing therapy.
Yep.
A young woman came to me when her son was about 3. She was in a abusive relationship, and we worked on helping her get out of it and figuring out why she was in it and all that. And excuse me. And uh, she, we got to a certain point. She ended the relationship. She got away from the guy, and it was. I said, "Great. Now let's figure out how you can move ahead so that you don't end up in this relationship again with another guy. She said, "Oh no, no, I'm fine. I've got it. I'll, you know, we're it's all good." And she went away. And 3 years later, she was back. Same situation, different guy.
Another abusive relationship. It's like,
She just, I mean, it had become her comfort zone. And
sure.
she had been in that time between then, she was in a relationship with a nice guy. And she said she just kept waiting for him to fly off and hit her, and he never did. And she was a wreck because her comfort zone was dealing with the abuse. And so we worked with this one and she got rid of him. And, that went on for like 4 or 5 times. And the last time she came in, she was telling me that her son was 22 and getting married. And I went, Sandy, what are you doing? Because I kept being there for this woman and being there for this woman, and she didn't want to change. I wanted her to change. I wanted her to help. I wanted her to help herself,
Yeah.
but she didn't want to. And I said, oh, and then, so we fixed her and she went away. And I said to myself, okay, what is fun? And that's when I switched to coaching because I want my clients to work as hard or harder than I do for their life. It's for them.
Yeah.
So that was the switch. And it was quick. I mean, once I realized that, I just, transferred my uh, counseling clients to other therapists and opened a coaching practice.
Oh, great.
So,
I wonder what the future is of coaching. You know, I've we've seen so many evolutions in our lifetimes. I mean, I've been in business for almost 40 years. When I started, I didn't have a computer. I used a typewriter. In my second year of business, I bought a Mac Plus, and there was no internet, and there was
right,
no social media, and there was no newsletters, and all these amazing things that have happened.
right.
But I'm also interested in the future of self-development and coaching and psychology and all of and now just in the last year we've seen the rise of AI
Yeah.
and um, Chat GTP is my personal buddy. I have conversations and ask questions and it's great. I have conversations with AI that I can't have with my wife. She wouldn't be interested in those conversations. Or, I wake up in the middle of the night. What about this? And we have a conversation about it. It's extraordinary.
It is, Robert. But that concerns me. Not you and AI,
Yeah.
but that AI and that you would rather talk to AI than a human being. And I think that, like, you look at adolescents these days, their self esteem is gone because
Really?
they spend all their time on the phone looking at what they think they're supposed to be. You know,
Right.
some skinny
Right.
woman or long hair or guy that's built beyond belief or whatever. And they don't look at each other. You see a group of teenagers and they're all sitting together looking at their phones. And you don't build self esteem by being on a phone or by, no offense, talking to AI. And your self esteem is fine, but you don't build relationships that way. You
No.
don't connect with human beings. And that concerns me a lot because people are not learning how to connect. They're not learning how to listen. They're not learning how to look each other in the eye and see, oh, there's a person in there. And that scares me. That scares me a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rant.
No, I agree. I think it's, see, I don't have a lot of contact with young people and teenagers. Well, what do I know? But we live in an interesting, very small community, and it's a little saner here. It is.
Right.
But I know what you're talking about, and I see it on the news, and people talk about it all the time. And but kids are leaving home later than they used to.
Right.
But who knows? The thing that we can't know, we can never know. We can never know if something is really good or bad in the moment.
That's true.
Because things evolve, things change. It might turn out wonderfully. Who knows? For instance, my wife is from Nepal, and if you have a family in Nepal, your kids are at home. They don't leave home until they get married.
Right.
They stay home like 10 years longer than American kids. And maybe that'll start happening here. People, they won't be as ready, and they'll stay home longer. Maybe that'll be a good. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then again, maybe society will fall to pieces, and we'll have Armageddon. Who knows? I don't know. I don't really have an impact on that, but it's sort of it. So, in your, what kind of age group are your clients typically? Are they younger, older? Probably not. Probably not kids.
Oh, no, not kids. No, I don't do child. Yeah. Um, wow. Probably 30s to 60 in
Yeah.
there. People who are have had some life experiences and have found it either works or doesn't work and want to make changes, or they want to advance and figure out how to do that either professionally or personally. Uh, People who have trouble uh, just feeling good about who they are, and you have
Right.
to live some to be able to know that.
Right.
Uh, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So over the years, you've been working with people for what, 30 years or more?
Oh, 40. Yeah, long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a difference in psychology of people in general over the past X years? Or are the problems that are presenting somewhat different than they used to be? Or is it all the same shit? You know,
I think
relationship problems.
people are people, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and we all want the same. Well, almost all of us want the same thing. We want to be healthy and happy and uh, have our basic needs met: food, clothing, shelter,
good
that kind of
relationships.
thing, relationships, that
Yeah,
kind of thing. Um, and then if you have all that, then you want to take a step farther and get more money or better relationships or bigger house or whatever. Um,
yeah,
I think people are people. I think that, as I said, the whole technology is fabulous. The phones, the AI, the computers, those are incredible tools.
yeah,
I just am concerned that some people have let them take over their lives to the point where they don't have human connection.
yeah,
So that's the difference I see. It
yeah.
used to be back in the day when you and I were in school. You had to talk to people because there was nothing else to do. Or you could read a
Exactly.
book, and that was it.
Yeah, as a teenager, I remember I had a few friends. Hung out at my friend's house who had a pool table.
Yeah,
We listened to music together.
right. And you talked about the music, and you shot pool, and
Yeah,
you interacted.
yeah. This is sort of before we were into girls much. But yeah, we did that. Wasn't much into sports, but
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But you know, the thing that I am concerned about in terms of the United States and humanity in general is the incredible political polarization. And I have a friend. He's happens to be a guy that lives in an RV around the corner, and he's homeless. But I've been supporting him, and he's become my friend. And I walk around the neighborhood, and at the end of my walk, we stop and with my dogs, and we talk, and I just support him because he needs that support.
That's wonderful.
But he's a great guy.
Yeah.
But we started to talk about politics recently.
Oh, uh-oh.
We are completely opposed. I won't get into the details. And I thought, well, here's a great opportunity to practice what I preach. It's like, how can you be a friend with somebody and not hate them because they're politically opposite?
Oh,
So if we talk about politics, I say, well, let's just drop the politics for a while. He says, okay, fine.
right.
But
Robert, we just did a podcast. We just recorded it yesterday, actually, on being judgmental or tolerant or accepting
yeah,
because of this whole polarization, which people have always had differing opinions. I mean, look at all the religions or people who don't have a religion or, philosophies on how you raise your child or
yeah,
all kinds of differing opinions. But I agree with you. I've never seen it become so toxic that just because somebody believes something, they're not taking action on it. They're not uh, harming you in any way. They just have a belief, and you can't be friends with them, or you have to throw them out of your life, or whatever. We've never done that before. I mean, back in the day,
yeah,
people would talk things through, and then maybe they'd agree to disagree. But
yeah.
it's
But
got to the place. Even the politicians do not take the high road and deal with the issues. Nobody's talking about issues. They're calling each other names, for Pete's sake. It feels like they're in elementary school.
I know.
Really? Give me a break.
So, I hope it's just a phase.
I hope so. Oh my gosh.
Um, I hope, I won't, let's not get into the politics of what we wish or don't wish, but it's,
Well, I just wish for tolerance and harmony and
yeah,
non
me too.
judgmentalism. That's it. You know,
Yeah,
everybody, especially in our country, we have the right to believe what we want to believe.
yeah,
And the government isn't going to swoop in and take us to jail because we don't wear the thing on our head or something. Uh,
yeah. If we get to that, we're
we're
in
in
deep,
big trouble. But
we're in
we
deep.
don't have that. We have the
Yeah.
freedom. The government gives us the freedom to believe what we want to believe, but we don't give that to each other anymore. And I don't know where that shifted, but it makes me sad.
Well, there was a certain president.
Well, yeah, but
Things got
and,
extreme.
there are people like that.
Yeah,
But what concerns me is that general citizens choose to believe it and follow it. That's what scares me. It's not
yeah.
one person that does it. If they all
You know
said,
what?
you're full
It's
of
true.
baloney,
It's true.
it wouldn't happen. It's all the people who ignore all the facts
Yeah,
and just are
yeah.
enamored with the drama, I guess. I don't know. But it scares me.
Well, it's interesting. I was watching a very interesting YouTube video yesterday. I just came across it. This looks interesting. It was about 30 minutes. And it was a group of people that got together to talk about three people that believe the earth is flat. Seriously.
Sure. Yeah.
And the other were three scientists, which obviously knew
Don't.
the earth is not flat. And it was an interesting conversation, and they did it interestingly in how they did the interactions. And it never got really acrimonious, which was they weren't didn't end up in a fist fight or anything, or they weren't calling each other name. It was a civil conversation, but
Yeah.
so I think the interesting thing was not, and maybe people didn't realize this. I don't know that most people would think, well, I saw in the comments, most people say, well, how can they believe this, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that they got along and they hugged each other at the end,
Sure.
it was really touching. Here's these people that think something that is kind of off the wall. I'm not sure why they believe it or how their thinking process works, but that works politically or in a lot of different things. It also is very true in relationships. I can't understand how my wife can think certain things in certain ways. It's beyond my possible conception, but I've got to get along with her.
It's about
And
respect, Robert. And that
It's
is a
about,
word that has gotten lost, is respect. I don't
yeah,
see a lot of respect happening in our world anymore.
yeah.
And it's
Because after all, they're wrong. And I'm right. So it's this I'm right, you're wrong. And we all have the seeds of that. I mean, we got to
why do
remember,
you need to be right? And why, unless it impacts you, unless
yeah,
it affects your life, they can believe, that there are aliens all over the place and they come to dinner and, who cares? Why does it matter what somebody believes? You have to respect their right to believe it. And we
yeah,
don't have that anymore. Uh,
yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's completely disappeared. I'm working on it. You're working on it. So we can't say it's 100%. Um, we don't want to associate with abusive, angry, violent people, obviously.
right. So we avoid them.
But it's interesting in talking to my friend. It really triggers him. It trigger. Something about he believes that the certain things that are happening in the Democratic Party are like the devil's work. I mean, really, really, really.
Sure. Well, it's
Um,
like the people who believe the earth is flat. That's that's where he's coming from.
yeah,
You don't have to understand it as long as
yeah,
he doesn't expect you to believe it.
right.
Let
But
it
just in
go.
the same way, if you're a Democrat, you really, really, really believe the other people are the
Of
devil's work.
course.
So it's uh, in this experiment we call being human being. We wonder where the evolution is. Obviously, we've had horrific things happen in the past. I mean, they used to burn people at the stake for believing certain things.
Right.
Terrible, terrible things that we can't even imagine. Slaughter at a level you can't imagine. And then, world wars, all this stuff. So it's interesting. For me, it's how do I live without getting too sucked into this? And I am sucked into it. I know too much. I read too much news. I watch too much
Yeah.
stuff. I
Yeah.
know what's going on. I think I do from a particular perspective, and it
Is
makes
that
your
working for you, Robert?
well. This is why I work on myself. I try to remember that uh, I can't have impact. I can't change people from a distance, obviously. Wouldn't we like to do that? Wouldn't that be great if we could do that? Presto changeo. Obviously, we can't do that. But we're living in a world that seems to be drifting more towards authoritarianism in governments around the world, and you know we've had relative peace for so many years since the Second World War.
Yeah.
And you wonder, these little things. Obviously, any big movement, political movement, started with a few people, and
Yeah.
they were angry, and
Yeah.
so you wonder, and then so you wonder where it's going.
Robert, you need to let it go. You spend entirely too much time obsessing on this thing and it gets
No,
you worked up. And what are you accomplishing?
exactly. Well, but I'm asking for myself, and I'm working on this and succeeding to a great degree,
Good.
in how to be, how to make a difference now with what we've got, get along with people, and but
You do
we
it
can't
one, Robert, you're doing it with the guy in the RV,
exactly.
one
Oh,
person at a
absolutely,
time. You respect
absolutely.
him. You allow that he has the right to believe what he wants to believe. And as long as it doesn't physically impact you, he's not coming into your house and yelling about it or whatever.
No,
Um,
no, no.
no, he's got that right.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was thinking, well, I could get some evidence together. I could talk to him like this. And I said, just give
no,
it up, Robert. Just don't get into the
good.
conversation. So
Good.
waste of frickin' time, right?
Yes.
Of time.
Right. Yes. And you don't spend your time helping people who want to change or want to
Yeah.
grow, not people who don't. And politics is such a mess. I try to stay out of it. I don't, I vote and I see who's running and all that, but I am not going to spend my days and waste my life obsessing about politics. So,
Yes. Word to the
that's what
wise.
our podcast is about just focusing on yourself and your relationships and um, being the best you can be and
Yeah.
respect. I think we probably did an episode on respect because that is so important and it's not real prevalent in our world these days.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that could be a movement, the respect movement.
I think that'd be fabulous. Why don't you throw yourself into that one? That'd make a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's gone. There, I can't think of much about it. You know. So,
So, a few more things. So, why is it's interesting? I don't know if this is a rare thing, but I don't think it's a frequent thing of a mother and daughter doing a podcast together.
oh
I
well,
I
you
think
want to
that's
know how that happened?
yeah. Please tell us.
Okay. Well, my daughter is amazing, and I've already said my focus is all about supporting and empowering people, and she's about that too. And she was a television news anchor for 20 years,
Oh wow,
both in Southern Oregon and in Virginia, and
wow,
is very uh, comfortable on a microphone, on camera, all that stuff. I'm
yeah,
not any of that, not at all, ever. You listen to our first 6 or 7 episodes, I sound like a robot. I just is like, microphone, I don't know what to do. But um, so we both wanted to reach more people because that's my thing about supporting and empowering people to be their best and
yeah,
love themselves. And we've got the books, but I also that still wasn't reaching enough people. The more people you can reach, the more you can support. So I thought, well, let's do a podcast. And she said, great, I'll set it up. Thank goodness, because she knows how to do that stuff. And
yeah,
she has a great on air voice and presence. And she is a great interviewer. And we just chat. We used to take walks a lot and we would just talk about these things. And at one point, one of us said, we should record this because it might help somebody. So it turned into our podcast, which is called Your Personal Power Pod. And as I was telling you before we started recording, we're just recorded episode 96, which
wow,
blows me away because I knew nothing about this at all
right,
and was very awkward and uncomfortable. But she held my hand and walked me through it. And now we just do one once a week pretty much. And uh, we get a lot of positive feedback and we have a couple thousand listeners and hope to grow that and want to just help more people.
that's fantastic. So, do you work out? How do you work out your topics, what you're going to talk about? How much prep work do you do to put it all together?
Actually, she has another job, so
Okay,
she doesn't have that much time. And
are
I,
you in the same location, or you do this?
yes, we
You
are in
are.
the same location, but I mean, she's at her house and I'm at my house, so we could be across the country
Oh, okay,
to do it. But yeah,
right.
she moved back after her 6 years being main anchor in a Virginia town city. Uh,
Uh huh.
she realized that she really missed Southern Oregon and she missed family, so she came back and she's in our town, which is great. That's a
Wow.
wonderful thing. Uh, but I just come up with the topics and write an outline and then send it to her, and she edits or doesn't, and then we just follow the outline and talk about it, whatever the episode is. So
Right.
We kind of banter, and she shares stories and I share stories, and we cover topics, everything from, you know, personal power to sympathy and empathy to judgmentalness, all kinds of things.
Yeah, fantastic.
So
I just think it's so great that you're doing that with your daughter. I
I
mean,
love it.
that's a kind of a rare thing. What a great relationship to be able to have those kind of conversations with somebody.
Yes, yes, somebody that understands, and you know, occasionally we'll disagree, and
Yeah,
so we'll work it out, and you know, she'll give me her opinion and I'll give her mine, and we'll either allow each other to be where they are, or somebody will go, "Oh, that's a really good point. I think maybe you know, I'll go
right,
that way." And
right.
so, yes, thank you for asking because I'm very proud of her, and she's quite amazing.
Yeah. Wow. So what's next for you? What's next? You know, well, obviously there's always a new topic for your podcast, so that keeps things interesting.
Right.
That's why I kept writing after I retired.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
If I didn't retire, I think I'd lose contact with reality.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and you're still sharing great
Yeah,
information. You're doing what I want to do is supporting people in a variety of ways. Like
yeah,
your recent post about exercise.
yeah,
You know, that's just supporting people. It's like, yeah, sometimes it's tough, but if you do it, you'll be really glad you did. And
yeah.
so you're still doing it, even though you don't call it working anymore.
Well, yeah, I'm working, but I'm not working for money.
Well, it's nice you don't need to do that.
Yeah, I'm lucky. So it's nice not having to work for money
Yeah.
because I don't know. I just
Then
got
you can
tired.
do anything you want and don't
Just
have to
about,
worry about is there an
just about.
income attached.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Anyway, so for you, what's next?
Uh, well,
What are
I
you
think
most
we just
excited
want to
about?
expand the podcast. We're going to look into putting it on YouTube and making it more accessible. It's on all the podcast platforms, but and on the website. But I think that is probably the best way, given where I am in my life, that I can reach more people and follow my goal, which is to support and empower people and help them see how amazing they are.
Yeah,
So I think we're just going to figure out ways to uh, improve the podcast and reach more people. Unless you
yeah.
have a suggestion, is there something else I should be doing?
Well, I think you're definitely on the right track. You know, the thing is I don't know if you have a Patreon or you're trying to raise any money from it, or if that's important to you or not.
Have a what?
But a Patreon,
Patreon.
that's a way that you get paid for doing the podcast. People just contribute. You just look up patreon.com
Oh, how
and
do
you
you
can
spell
get
that? PAT.
Patreon, I
Okay,
think.
thank you. I will. I did not know about that. See, I told you I'm totally
Yeah.
unsavvy about
Well, a
technology.
lot of people do that. So, you know, not everybody's going to do it, but if even only a few percentage pay you $10 a month, after a while you're making a few $1,000s. So a lot of the people that do Substack, are you familiar with Substack? It's a newsletter platform.
No, you just
And-
know all this great stuff.
yeah, I'm just on the internet all the time. And anyway, so Substack and often people hook their Substack blog to their podcast. So they do the podcast, they transcribe it, and then they put it out on Substack. Um,
Huh.
so you know that's more work, et cetera, et cetera. But some people have tens of thousands of subscribers, and with Substack, you can you can have different levels. It's free for most people, but if you want to make comments or if you want to do this, you can have different, and you can pay $5 a month for it or whatever.
Oh,
So
cool.
there's different kind of monetary things,
Thank you,
but
Robert. Good to
you
know.
know, and but you know, the way I'm starting this is I'm just doing the videos. I'm going to put the videos on my site and on YouTube to begin with.
Right.
Then I'm going to transition to also putting them onto podcast places. I'm learning how to do that,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not worried about monetizing it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even worried about how many subscribers they are. I mean, it's the thing that I'm learning in retirement is that it isn't all about more, more, more. It's about, am I fulfilled and satisfied and complete and here and awake in the moment, as
Perfect.
opposed to someday I'll be more successful with a million.
No.
See, I was lucky. My subscriber base grew, I worked at it, but I had 50,000 subscribers at one time. And
Wow.
then I wrote my book, and then I did a zillion classes, and I made a ton of money. And so I accomplished that. But some people say, well, your life is only worthwhile if you do more than that.
Oh,
What if
whoa.
you,
Whoa.
and that is not healthy.
Whoa. There's a judgment. That's a judgment on their part.
Yes.
Your life is worth a lot and you are having a darn good time with it, which is what they would probably like to be doing.
Yeah.
And you don't have
Well,
to accept their judgment.
no, I'm not worried about that. But I was very ambitious. And at a certain point, given all the personal growth and stuff, I just became not so ambitious, and I made enough money so I could save money, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you
So
accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, Robert.
what?
You accomplished what you wanted to accomplish.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's perfect. That's
Yeah.
great.
And I live in the best place imaginable. I live in a redwood forest with a river in my backyard, for
I
God's sake.
know.
I've been here for 20 years.
That's
It's
so
just
spectacular.
it's an amazing place to live with two wonderful dogs and a wonderful wife.
Yes.
And I'm making the difference I can make. And I think I think as an ordinary visionary, um, we're often thinking of the future, obviously, but what's the most important is just here and now. Am I enjoying my life? Am I making a difference? Am I happy?
Yes.
Am I fulfilled in
Exactly.
whatever I do? Is every day okay just the way it is?
Yeah. Or
And
even better
so,
than okay. Is it all wonderful?
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what
yeah,
I hope
my
everybody will be living, that kind of life where they enjoy every day and they be in the present.
yeah.
You
Well,
have to look ahead, a little
yeah,
bit, but not to achieve giant goals, especially
right.
where you and I are in our lives. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm
we've
not going
done
to
a lot
start. I'm
and
going to start a multinational corporation in my 70s.
yeah, probably not because you don't want to. You would if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well, um, one's capacity is diminished to some degree after a certain point. I don't have quite the energy I used to. I can't believe the what I accomplished, and but
It's one
um,
step at a time, Robert. If you'd
I
said, if
absolutely,
40 years ago, you'd said, you know, I'm going to do all this, you would have been overwhelmed and you wouldn't have done anything.
yeah, maybe
So
so.
what you did was you did one step at a time, and then that led to the next thing, and then that led to the next thing.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely,
you made it happen. And now you're at this place looking back and going, wow, look at that.
yeah. But I don't want to really focus much on the past either. It's like
No,
right now is the someone said it. Now is the point of power.
yes,
Now
absolutely. Well put.
here we are. Here we are
Yep.
having
And
fun.
what do we want to do with it? Let's
Exactly.
have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So with that, Sandy, it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you. I congratulate you on all you've done. Your podcast with your daughter is terrific. The books look fantastic. So I hope people check you out. I'll have the information about where they can find the books and your podcast and your website, etc. And I wish you luck moving forward in whatever it is you do.
Well, thank you so much, Robert. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and it's an honor to be here. And I think you and I will both move ahead and just continue to enjoy life. So
Yeah.
thank you for the privilege of being here.
Thank you. Let's keep making a difference in the way we can.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.